Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my weekly Node-RED live stream. An hour or so of some Node-RED core code development. If it's your first time joining, do say hi in the chat or leave a comment on YouTube. That's always welcome. I can see in the chat, Softy2K, Steve, Old Bobby Tables, already there and saying good evening to you all. Let me just... my head is looking very bright. Turn down... I've got some new lights recently. I'm still... so that I can massively overexpose myself if I go crazy. Anyway, that's not what we're here for. Ali77, Reblaw49, welcome to the live stream. Apologies for last week. I was unwell. Just, too much going on and had to skip a week. So, we're back this week. I won't be around next week, holiday time, but... what are we up to tonight? Well, you can see in the description down there, duplicate wire fixes. So there was a nasty little bug to do with the undo history that has crept into 2.2 that can leave you with duplicate wires between nodes that you can't see, but ends up with multiple messages being passed. Now, Steve did a pull request with a fix in, which we're going to have a quick look at next. And I've already had a look and I think it all looks sound, all looks good, so we'll get that merged. But there's a bit more... So as Steve has fixed the issue, that I think there's a bit more we can look at in the editor to avoid getting into that state in the future. So if other bugs creep in, there's a couple bits of a safety net I think we can put into place that will help. So, let's see. What am I doing? I am looking for the Node-RED issue list. And I'm going to change my screen so you can look as well. So, here we have the Node-RED issues. I'm filtering out the things labelled as features just to get a better sight of what's actual bugs. Because the duplicate wire issue is quite nasty, we are going to get that released tomorrow in a maintenance release. So tonight we're going to do a little bit of a speed run because there's a couple other bits on this list that I'd like us to have a quick look at and see whether there are quick fixes. I know Steve is looking at a couple of other bits himself, which is awesome. But what we're going to do is have a look at the duplicate wires between nodes with 220. So as I said, the net result of this is you can have a flow deployed where the runtime believes there's more than one wire between a pair of nodes. Here's an example flow that reproduces it, or reproduces the symptom of duplicate messages unexpectedly. And sure enough, if we scroll down to this, a UI switch node, you can see here let's make this big. You can see its wires property. I hope you can see it's got two entries for the same node, which effectively means a duplicate wire. Two wires to that same node. Now that shouldn't be possible. Shouldn't be possible to get into that state. But a bug in 2.2, which Steve has managed, based on all the feedback, Steve did manage to identify, and it's to do with the undo history. So Steve has thrown in this pull request. And if we just have a quick look at what he's doing, we are in... Where are we? That's a good question to start with. We are in delete selection. So it's to do with when you delete a wire and then undo it. And this bug crept in one of the pull requests we did, in fact on this live stream, around support for selecting multiple wires. And the net result is, as we're deleting stuff, we were keeping track of what links were getting removed so we could put it in the undo history. And the short version is we were ending up with duplicate entries in this removed links list. So the history entry, when you hit Control Z to undo it, it re-added wires, but because we told it because we put duplicates on the ones we told it we'd removed, it created duplicates when you undid it. So Steve's done a pull request that, rather than just blindly concatenate into our list of stuff that's been removed, a little local function that sort of deduplicates. Well, I assume what he's working on is it deduplicates what needs removing. Right. In fact, the way it does it is to do with this. What is selected? Oh, right. So because you could now select multiple, when we were deleting stuff, because we weren't also marking it as no longer selected because it's been deleted, then that was the root cause of the bug. Whereas Steve's fix, this point of this utility function is, if you want to add it, not only do we remember that it's been removed, but we also explicitly remove it from the selected links, and that helps remove the path that led to duplicate entries in the array. So yeah, so I mean, that's good. That's fine. I've not stepped through the logic. I can see. I think I can see the one bit would perhaps like just to see for myself is why leaving stuff in selected links was causing the duplicates. But you know what? What we're going to do is do a quick test of this PR. As Steve says, this is one of many different ways it could have been fixed. I'm not going to... If it's fixed it, it's fixed it, and we're not going to quibble. So first I'm just going to run the master branch. Let's just try and recreate it. If we recreate it, then we'll apply Steve's pull request and verify we can't recreate it. And that's the testing we do before we merge. So there we are, we're running vanilla 220. I'm going to select that wire, hit delete, hit Control Z. Now, what's the best way of observing that there's a bug? If I export that node, no. Okay, I better go read Steve's very good instructions for how to reproduce. Deploy, press inject, yeah. Draw selection box around both nodes and delete, deploy, undo. Okay, so it's perhaps a bit more. So we do this. In fact, let's just start clean, because we do this, we wire it, hit deploy, inject one message, we select them both, we hit delete, then we hit deploy, we hit undo, we hit deploy again, and we inject, and we get two messages. Oh dear. Okay, so we can reproduce it, and if I select that wire and hit delete, I've now deleted one of those wires. Hit inject, now I get one message. That's goodness. I select it and hit delete again, it's gone. So we're going to test Steve's PR. So I've got a handy little git alias. Let's just find the PR number, 3437. So git PR 3437. That goes and grabs the corresponding branch from GitHub, dumps me in it, and then you can just run that. Churn, churn, churn. Okay. Right, that's now up. So now let's reload. I'm just going to delete all that and let's do recreate from scratch. We 2 nodes, wire them, inject 1 message. We delete. We Control Z. Okay, no. We delete. Control Z. Deploy again. Inject, and we've only got 1 message. Awesome. So yeah, the PR fixes it. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to use another script of mine called git PR done, which takes me back to the branch I was on previously and deletes that branch. So I don't have a whole bunch of branches littering locally. If anyone's interested in these git aliases, I will happily share them. But for now, we're happy this PR does fix the issue. So we're going to merge that. Good stuff. Let's just pull that down so I've got it locally. Nice. Right. I'm just going to create a branch called dupe links, and we are going to... It feels wrong that we could get into this state. It feels wrong that it feels wrong that it's even possible for the editor to believe that there's more than 1 link between 2 nodes. So I know full well how that's doable. So if we go to editor client, source, JS. So we're in packages, node modules, at Node-RED, editor client, source, JS, nodes.js. So this is the main sort of internal representation of the flows in the workspace. And it's got this links array. If we have a look in here at add link, so this is the internal function that gets called whenever we add a link to the flow model. And if you have a look at this, you can see it just pushes it into the links array. It doesn't make any attempt to validate that the link is good, that the link isn't a duplicate, and that's kind of how we can get into the editor, get into this mess. It relied, I think, too much on all of the code that might call this function being semantically correct and avoiding adding duplicates. And I know on previous live streams we've had to do some work to try and avoid adding duplicates. Well, I think it would be much neater at this point if we had a super efficient way, and that's got to be key. Because bear in mind, add link gets, when you import your flows, add link will get called for absolutely every link in your workspace. So this can't be an expensive operation. So as efficiently as possible, we want to validate that we haven't seen this, that we haven't got this link already. Now, what's doable here, what is feasible here is below the links.push, below the point where we just add it to the array of links in the workspace, we do some extra work. We do some extra work because of changes that went into 2.2, where we want to also be able to track, we want to efficiently look up wires that are connected to any given node. Is that right? Yeah. So node links is a data structure that's only recently been added, but I think we can make use of that. So rather than having to check, rather than do like index of the entire array of all links every time we add a link, we can be a bit smarter and we can do an almost, an order one lookup. Oh yes, sorry, Bobby Tables, I will zoom in, sorry. Where were we? Yeah, so here we are in add link. So I think we can do something to do a direct lookup to see where the two nodes are connected. So at the moment, this node links object is keyed by, it is an object that is keyed by the ID of a node, and it has currently two properties, in and out. So these are, whenever you add a link, for the source node, we will push that link into the array of outs, so wires out of a node. And for the target, we will push it into the inputs of a node. So that's what lets us very efficiently in the editor sort of go say, given this node, who's he connected to, either downstream or upstream. So that's good. What would be even nicer is, so one thing we could do is, given this, we could, before we push into the links array, we could actually look in node links and check the source for the source node. We would only then have to iterate or check the index. No, we would have to iterate over the output array for all the existing wires to see, is that wired to that node at all. So what would that look like? Well, we can say, yeah, there's probably the wonders, why have I got if l.source, because I can't think of why a wire would, where I can't think of any legitimate case when a wire doesn't have a source and a target. I think those are slightly needless bits of guard on those functions. So what we can do is say, what do we need to do here? We need to decide, is this link unique or not? So first we're going to say, does node links for the source exist? If that exists, that means we're adding a wire with a source node that already has some wires associated it, so it could be a duplicate. So at that point, we're going to say, what are we going to say? We are going to use, well, we know if that exists, we know that we want to look at all the wires in the out array. And we're going to use the every function. Is that right? For a huge variety of reasons, I've only recently played with the every function. Again, it's one of those I'm just too ingrained just to ignore. Let me just check it's... I see even Internet Explorer. Yeah, I don't know why array.every is just not in my vocabulary of... I don't know why it's in my vocabulary. So what this will do is... we'll apply this function to every element in this array, and what we care about is if link.target.id is not equal to l.target.id. Now, is that good enough? It's not quite good enough, because if a node has multiple outputs, then it's perfectly valid for this node to have two wires connected to this debug as long as their source ports are different. So what we care about is iterating over every link. Then what we care is that link dot, is it source port? Yep. Is not equal to L dot source port. So it's either coming from a different port or the targets are different. Yeah, I think that holds together. So then if existing, we're just going to return. Okay, I'm just going to step through this just to make sure I'm doing this right. So we're adding a link. It's a link with a source node we already know about links for. We look at all the existing wires coming out of outputs of that node, of that source. And then we care if it's unique. Yeah, okay, I have got the logic here wrong. I've got the Boolean, yeah. I think is unique is the right thing to do here, because this is going to return true. This is going to iterate until it returns false. Or it's going to iterate over everything, but it will stop early if something returns false. And we want it to return false if the source ports are matching and the target IDs are matching. Which is also to say, yeah, okay, just doing a bit of Boolean algebra. What I just said is we want it to say right, it is a existing wire if it's the same source port and the target's the same. But we're returning whether it's a unique wire or not, so we not it. So putting a not, yeah, that's the equivalent of inverting that, and inverting that. Which means is unique is now yeah, that will now be true if this is a unique wire. And then if it's not unique, then we're going to return without having added it. Oh, man. Okay, I think that makes sense. What I'm going to do here is console.log not adding duplicate wire. Because we want to have a little bit of evidence that that's doing the right thing. So if we now reload, what we're going to do here is we are going to, what we're going to do, we're going to make a link. Bigger, so hopefully you can see this as well. So I'm just creating a link definition. Yeah, see, Steve's got the right idea. Far more efficient way of doing it. But there we've got a link definition which is identical to this link between this debug, inject and debug. So if I do a red.nodes.add link of L, and we get the message not adding duplicate wire. Awesome. But just for fun, if we copy that to clipboard, we import it and then stare hard, copy that. That's good, and hit import. import copy, and again, not adding duplicate wire. And if I delete that, it goes, and if I undo it and delete it, and yeah, we're good. So this is good because this will help tidy up broken flows, because that's the other part of this. The fix, Steve's fix, was great. It'll stop duplicate wires from happening. This fix will now fix people's flows that they don't realize are broken, because it will now deduplicate any wires that get imported, which is quite an important part of this fix. Okay, I feel like I ought to just test the multiple ports. So to do that, we are going to dump in a function node. Yeah, dump in a function node. We're going to up its outputs and wire them both to the same node there. Let's export that. Now we should be able to just import that, and that works fine. Good. It hasn't done any deduplicating. And if I import again and again, I go and try and find debug node, inject node, function node, wires. Yeah, let me just duplicate. We're going to duplicate it twice, both of those outputs. No, not. We're just going to deduplicate one of them. If I clear the console and I hit import, import copy, and again, you can see the debug we added, not adding duplicate wire. And if it just takes one delete to remove both of those. We're good. Okay. Test port 2 dupes, if you insist. Oops. Port 2. Yeah, so now we've got the duplicate on the second one. And again, did I have 2 messages in there before? Okay, I'm just going to run that test again because I can't remember if I had, oops. No. Port 2, which is this one. Yeah, oh no, import. Oh, not adding duplicate wire. Oh yeah, we wanted that to happen. Sorry, had a momentary lapse of what we're testing. Cool. I think that's all good. The only other bit I want to sanity check is there's just a whole bunch of. So you can see here, if I drag on there, nothing is happening. We're not getting the warning. But that's because there's already code in the editor that realizes that's a duplicate and refuses to add it. So in some ways, we could actually simplify other bits of code by removing the responsibility they take upon themselves to do the deduplicating. But I think this bit of code will, this is good. Now, it still has, every time you add a link, iterating over an array that is growing. If we look up here, when I add this first wire, there's no existing outputs on this, so it doesn't do anything. When I add this one, it's got to check that one. When I add this one, it's got to check both of the ones above. And when I add this one, it's got to check all 3. So for flows that have a large number of wires, there is a performance consideration. Now, I'm not always one for premature optimization. The the risk here is I always know there are users with much bigger flows than the ones I test with. And I always get wary of when we add something that could end up causing, what sort of growth would it be? I mean, if they've got lots of nodes with large numbers of wires coming out of them, then this is going to cause some amount of it's not exponential, it's squared behavior. Sort of squared performance cost. So the other option I was wondering was, could we actually, in this node links, we've got the in and out properties, could we actually tag on some other metadata that deals with basically just a much simpler mapping of what the node is linked to. If we go down and look at, because the converse of this is whenever you remove a link, we've got to tidy up all these data structures, which again, that doesn't happen as much, or at least it happens on a much smaller scale. I'm just super wary that add link, just loading the flows into the editor, will call add link a lot. So, I think this is probably okay. If it proves a performance hit, we have a route to improve it. So I'm wary of over optimizing it right this second. Bobby Tables asks, does this also account for link nodes? Link nodes are handled entirely differently. So the virtual link that gets added between two wires doesn't get added via this add link. So this add link function is purely for real links between nodes. Okay, we're going to run with this. The other bit I wondered about was on the runtime side. And do something more on the runtime side, because again, anyone could generate the flow JSON their own way and have bugs in it. But yeah, again, given we've gone however many years it is now, 9 years, then without needing this, again, I'm hesitant to spend time in the runtime needlessly. Well, so Steve says if in and out were lookups, this would be faster. It would for this case, but then where we use these in and out arrays would be slower, and those other cases are more. I wouldn't say they're more important, but all of the logic to do with, like, if I select that node and that node and all those debugs, the fact it now knows to highlight all those wires in between is because we can very, very efficiently get a list of all the wires between these nodes, thanks to this stuff. So yeah, there might be some small optimizations to be made. I don't think it's worth it at the moment. So anyway, I'm sure I could go around in circles endlessly convincing myself one way or the other, but we are going to commit this. Prevent duplicate links being added between nodes. Yeah. Well, and that so Steve asked, what about having duplicate objects? So that is, as I was saying, that is the alternative. We could add something in something out, and then which is sort of not arrays but as objects, and gives us some quick and easy way to do that lookup that would be the way to optimize it a bit, squeeze a bit more out of it. But I don't think we need to at this point, is my gut feel. So it is 8:30. There's another couple of issues I'm going to look at, so let's just get this in. Prevent duplicate links being added between nodes. That's the fix in... Oh, what was that PR number? There we are, 3437. Prevents... What's the fix in 3437? Prevents the bug in undo history adding duplicate wires. This PR ensures red.nodes.addLink will filter out duplicate links wherever they come from. This will also fix up any flows that were broken in 2.2.0 due to the original bug. Okay. Bob tables another option of storing as a string instead with a separator in out, then the lookup would be in concat with the two. Yeah, that would be another way of doing it. Have just a single object that is a map of source. Well, it'd be source, port, target. That would actually be another way of doing it. That would be another way of doing it. And that would be relatively elegant. No, I'm going to stick with what we've... Am I going to stick with what we've got? Oh, see, you have... No, I'm going to stick with what we've got. I'm wary of adding just too many data structures in here that are just different views on the same thing. And I'm the one who says that we already have data structures for different ways of accessing data. No, I'm going to leave it as is for now. Moving on. There we are. So we are moving on. So if we look back at the issue list, duplicates, we've done that. This one I wanted to address. So this is a bug. Wow, it's a change in behavior that 2.2.0 that has caused more heartache than I was expecting, I think is the... As in, it's a change I knew we had made. But my assessment was, if I go find the original... so it was observed that the validation in the delay node on one of its properties was inconsistent with all the others. This MB rate units, that it had a regular expression validator to check it was a valid value. And unfortunately this regular expression got added a few years ago. I can't remember the full history, but it's a bad regular expression. It doesn't validate it properly at all. So the change was proposed to be more consistent. You can see with these other ones that were already in place that we validate it by saying, yes, it's a number and it's greater than 0. Now, that's all well and good. However, MB rate units is a property that didn't exist at the very start of Node-RED. In fact, it was added in 0.15. I remember that because I looked it up. So there was a concern, well, and you can see here, with the change proposed in this PR that we did merge, the validator wouldn't work it would say it was invalid for any delay node from a version of Node-RED older than 0.15. And given how many years that is, I came to the judgment that it would be a tiny proportion of the user base who would ever notice. Unfortunately, people noticed. Colin noticed, and quite reasonably he made the point that yes, he's got some very old nodes and parts of his flows he hasn't touched, because if he had ever edited those nodes since 0.15, they would have had the missing property added and the validator would have been fine. So, yes, it's a bit of an edge case, but he also makes the point there's lots of examples in the flow library that use the delay node that are old and don't have those properties. So, in fact, given that people could export flows from the flow library, people could export flows from the flow library that did not validate cleanly, then that's kind of less than ideal. So if we want to just see this for ourselves, reload, we're going to import that node, and you can see it's got the red triangle. If I if I look at its properties, you can see MB rate units is undefined. If I edit the node and just hit done, and look at the table again over here, you can see MB rate units is now blank, and the red triangle's gone. So, yeah, it's a bit of overzealous validation, and notwithstanding my previous comments about it only affecting very old nodes, it kind of feels like, well, we ought to, for the want of a little extra code, here it is. So MB rate units, validate function. What we're going to say is v is undefined, or it's a number and it's a number greater than 0. That's all we need. So if I save that, restart Node-RED in the background, come back in here, and we're going to import that node again. Ooh, and oh no, I've got to reload the editor to pick up that change. Import that node again, and you can see it's imported, no error. And if I look at its properties, you can see MB rate units is undefined, so it's imported exactly the same, but it's not showing the error. And if we edit it, hit done, then MB rate units blank, it's fine. Yeah, all good. So, happy with that fix. We're going to create a branch, delay field validation. I'm going to go and commit allow, what did we say the property was? MB rate units. So the issue is you can't JSON encode undefined. So and also, if you've got an edit dialog with an input field and you get its value and it's blank, then it's an empty string. So that's kind of just what it does. It's not that we explicitly convert them to strings, it's just if you have an empty dialog and the input is empty, then you get back a blank string when you edit. So this is what we're going to commit, but I want to go find, so 3407, so we stick in the second line. I don't know if people know this, generally I always do it. The second line of your commit message should say something like fixes or closes or part of. There's a small set of well-defined phrases you can use, followed by a issue number, and GitHub will do the right thing automatically link things together. So allow MB rate units to be undefined when validating fix 3407. We commit and we wait for Nick's tedious laptop to sign his commit. We push the branch. We click the link. This partially reverts 3351 in that it allows the NB rate units property of the delay node to be undefined. This means very old nodes don't get incorrectly flagged as invalid. Yep. Cool. That's 2 fixes done. What else have we got here? How are we doing? Oh, 2047. Okay, got 13 minutes. I'm not going to overrun tonight. I have a cup of tea and a nice pudding waiting for me downstairs in 13 minutes. So we've done duplicate wires. I'm just going to label that fixed. Delay nodes misconfigured. Yeah, well, we've got the pull request for that, so we're going to label that fixed. Good. This double ligand prompt, that's not us. That's a third-party node misbehaving. We haven't got to the bottom of it yet. Link all node doesn't work inside subflow. That's a feature request. Can't type Polish diacritic character. Option A on macOS. Yep, that needs looking at. I need to wrap my head around. That isn't a 12 minutes to 9 quick fix. I know Steve was going to have a look at a couple more of these down here. Node red editor using code doesn't work. Oh, it does work. It's just case sensitive. Okay. That's a super quick, easy one to fix. So which one should we fix? Vote now. We're either going to do make the keyboard shortcut filter case insensitive, or we're going to have a look at the comment node in Safari not looking right. What awaits for my pudding? Well, here's the story. It is Valentine's Day, and we didn't get anything planned. So my wife said if she gets a chance, she'll call into the supermarket on the way home from work and pick up something nice for dinner. And then at lunchtime, I went for a walk at lunchtime, and I went to the supermarket and I got something nice for our dinner. And I texted her saying, "Don't worry, dinner's sorted." And then she got home to say she'd been early arriving at work, so she'd done the dinner shop on her way to work, not on the way home. So we've actually managed to get 2 nice Valentine's Day meals that we've each bought. So we've actually had some of a mix and match from each of ours. So it's either churros and chocolate or it's lemon tart. So anyway, well, we've had 1 vote for keyboard filter and 1 vote for comment node. I'm going to... Yeah, okay. I'm going to look at the comment node one because it's, I think, a Safari only issue. And, well, Steve doesn't have a Mac, so I can't ask him to look at it. It seems only fair. So, helps if Node-RED is running. But there we are. I've only got 9 minutes now. So, churn. There we run. So okay, there's Safari. Let's go have a look. Add a comment node to flow, edit the comment node and add a string over 32 characters. Okay. No, that's, oh well. First, let's do it in Chrome. So I title with over 32 characters. That goes on and on and on a bit more. Just for good fun. Okay, so that's worked. Now let's go over to Safari and do the same thing. Well, that's worked. Comment node, oh, it's version 2.16, was fine in 2.14. Okay, let's just import. Maybe there's some weird edge case with exactly the title Steve has. No, not Steve, Jungle Dad, who's, yeah. But that import's fine for me in Safari. Yeah. I partly wonder, there was some stuff here around node label rendering. Short story, I can't reproduce on 2.2, so at 7 minutes to 9, I'm not going to keep digging. Right. But what I will do is go back to my archive. Have I got? No. So I'm going to run an install of 2.1.6. Let's see if we can reproduce this in 2.1.6. I've seen I can't reproduce in 2.2. If I can reproduce in 2.1.6, then jobs are good, and we've already fixed this bug, and there is no more 2.1 streams. So 2.1.6 MP. How do I run it? MPX node red. Yeah. Just double check. Yeah, 2.1.6. So now let's go and grab the comment node. No. Okay, just double check. Yeah, 2.1.6. I wonder if, let's just do a couple more tests. If I get rid of the comment, and now if I change the size, no, that's done the right thing. If we look at his screenshot, does he have a screenshot? No, he's not shared a screenshot. Let's, one little thing to try. If I change the grid size, you can see that it expanded slightly as I'd expect it to. If I no, it's just refusing to reproduce. Okay. That's about as much effort as I'm going to put into this tonight. The fact it's not definitely broken is good enough for me. Yeah. Finish in Safari, yeah. Well, we can't produce it in Safari, so I'm not going to rush to fix something I can't reproduce. Awesome. Right, in which case, with 4 minutes, we are going to do this. Node-RED editor, user settings, keyboard shortcuts filter doesn't work, which is kind of a harsh description. It does work. It's just not case sensitive. So let's fix that. So we're going to just create a branch, keyboard filter case. Get that running. So let's go find the keyboard shortcut dialog. Anyone? Keyboard. And we're just going to look in here for filter. Seems likely. Search box is the one we want. So this is the search box UI element for the keyboard UI for the filter. And this is our configuration for it. Waits 100 milliseconds after you stop typing, so if you type quickly, it isn't constantly trying to filter at the same time. So it grabs whatever you've typed, it trims the white space. If there's nothing left, it removes the filter. Otherwise, it trims all white space. Though, yeah, I'm not sure why. And then does a filter label. Oh, you see, look here, it does do a to lowercase. So it looks at the label and it does lowercase it. Oh, but the problem being, if filter value, yeah, okay. We lowercase one thing, we don't lowercase the other. So the bug being, if you filter with a mixed case word, it's not matching. And that's because we lowercase the label, but we don't lowercase what we're looking for, which is filter value. That makes sense. So if we just add in a dot to lowercase, I'll tell you what, let's take that back out. Every good test, let's reproduce it first, then show we've fixed it. So if I type a line with a capital A, it finds nothing. If I add dot to lowercase, wait for that to build, refresh, bring up the dialog, and now if I search for a line with capital A, it finds them. So that's used 3 of my 4 minutes. Use handle mixed case filter terms in keyboard shortcut dialog. Fixes. 3,400. Awesome. Push the branch. Uses to lowercase on the filter term, so it works. Cool. All right, so we've got 3 pull requests done, a successful hour. I've got a couple minutes grace, just as Steve asked briefly, a slight detour. So the git PR command, I'll share it properly another time, but I'll just share it with you on screen now, just so you get a flavour for it. So it's in my .git config. I've got a whole bunch of things. So often you'll see me use CO for checkout. you often see me use COB, which is when I want to create a new branch to work on. It's basically checkout -b followed by the branch name. So it's handy. Often you'll see me when I push a new branch, I use git pb, push branch, rather than just push, because it stops it nagging about setting upstream and tracking the upstream branch. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff, including git mcfly, which travels back in time and deletes the last commit. Git rethink, which undoes the last commit but leaves all the file changes. But here's the interesting one. Git pr. It's a little script it runs. You have to pass in the pull request number, and you have to be in a Git repo. First it uses another one of my commands, bn, which gets the current branch name and just writes that to a file. It then does a git fetch origin, and in GitHub, all pull requests exist in the repo as pull/its_number/head. So I pull that branch. Oops, I've just edited the file, which I didn't mean to do. So I fetch the origin. I fetch that pointer, which is the pull request, into a local branch called pr_its ID, and then I check it out so I can edit it. And then at pr done, basically works out what branch to take me back to, which is why I store old branch there, so I don't always assume to go back to the master branch. I'll go back to whatever branch I was on previously. And then checks out the old branch and deletes the PR branch I was on. And I've got some others for doing other useful stuff from time to time, like fix conflict, that just iterates over all the files with conflicts in and asks me what to do to fix it. And then, you can see git what. So, because I can never remember all these commands, if I git what, it just prints out a list of all these random commands. I will share that on some form in the near future this week. If I don't, please do remind me. Cool. So, pending a couple of the issues Steve was looking at, I think the plan is 221 sometime tomorrow. 221 will get released tomorrow afternoon. I say, Steve, don't worry, I will check in with you tomorrow morning about when we're actually going to do that, based on those couple of issues you've been looking at. No rush, no worries. It's all good. Otherwise, I'm on vacation next week, so definitely no live stream next Monday. The Monday after, I expect to be back on, but first day back from vacation and all that, so we'll see. Otherwise, keep well, stay safe. If there's anything you want to see on these streams, do shout. We've got some meaty stuff coming for 3.0, so we'll get stuck into that on the next stream for sure. And with that, I will say good night to you all. Enjoy your cups of teas and puddings, as I'm sure you will go and have, just like I am. And with that, good night. Bye.